Hello, welcome to this webinar. This is Jane. Let me share the screen. I really appreciate you spend some time with me to come to this webinar, and I will try not to be too monotone. I know that's my shortcoming. Let me share the screen. I have a lot to share today. We're talking about completely flipping your banking function and be your own bank. Let me make it full screen. So I call this wealth on wheels, WOW system. We want to do the WOW resolution to show you how you could flip your banking function and then be bold. I will tell you what each letter stands for and drive to your tax exempt millionaire status as fast as possible. I do have the school community, and then I will share the link. Feel free to join. That's a free community. I try to bring as much value as possible. People can help each other. The best way to learn is from other people's mistakes. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, not a CPA, not a licensed attorney. I'm just sharing what I know now, and I wish I knew in my 30s. I am a licensed independent life insurance agent. This is not about life insurance. We will talk about life insurance in one of the small components in our system or our bank. But my name is Jing Wan. Based on the name and my face, probably you can guess I'm not originally from here. I came in 2000 as an immigrant student, and I went through my traditional route, two masters here in the US, started working for different companies, including a Fortune 50 company in the US. The first 12 years when I started working. After that, I branch out on my own. I think the sky is unlimited. As long as you want to pursue something, you just do it. I don't want to regret later on in my life. I call myself as the lifetime learner because there's just so much to learn, especially AI. Look at how fast AI evolves every single day. I discovered early on because I'm doing our household tax every year. We pay a lot of tax. We pay sales tax, capital gain tax, personal income tax. That personal income tax is a significant percentage of what you bring in, and then you have to pay back. There's a 15.3 social security tax, unemployment tax. If you look at your pay stub, so much money going to the government or different agencies like Social Security. I really want to change. There should be strategies for the middle class to pay less tax and get more inside the household for retirement investment and accumulating wealth inside of rat race. Every year you go back, earn the salary, burn those money out, and then next year, you repeat it. Things can go 10 years, 20 years, and life goes on. That's not something I want to see myself in another 10, 20 years. So I branch out on my own. I set up an IT company, failed. After a year and a half, I have to close the company and figure out what I'm going to do. Continuously, I was learning. I counted other day, probably 13, 14 different certifications. Some from the original. I had two masters, one in computer science, one in chemistry. Some were related to computer science, some are related to quality, some are related to miscellaneous stuff. Like I have a pharmacy technician certificate. I am an author and educator. The reason I want to do this, not because I want to brag, but to share this so you can get some system or at least some. I make so many mistakes along the way. I hear so many people talking about different things. I just say, oh, I'll do this. Oh, I'll do that. At the end of the day, I regret my mistakes and it's painful. And I had to pay some tax I did not need to pay penalties. Thank God. There are hefty penalties in the tax code. Sometimes it's go as high as 50%. So that's another story. I want to educate other people so people can start utilizing the strategies we have, different tax strategies. People can start accumulating wealth in the tax preferred or tax favored buckets, which we'll go into details. I'm a mom of three kids. I have a small rental portfolio I built in the last 4 years. We dissect the asset allocation of the household. We moved from Long Island to North Carolina and South Carolina. I live on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina, very close to Charlotte. But what I want to share with you is what I have learned the past 20 something years, the lessons, the experience, the pitfalls I experienced. And I want people to really start focusing what is I think, the right way to switch your thinking about your banking function. We all use banks, but banks are taking our money and lend it out. They are collecting 12%, 18%. If it's a credit card, 24, 28%. Why don't we do the opposite? Why don't we be the bank and collect that amount of money? It is possible. Let's talk about this B.O.L.D method, how we really switch our banking function. It stands for bank. Yes, we always want to be the bank, not use Chase or Wells Fargo or whatever bank you utilize. The second one, ownership. I cannot emphasize this ownership enough. I think that's about the quality. I will the quality into the entire span of your lifetime to manage your finance, manage your relationship, manage your life overall. The third one is leverage. There's so many resources available. Why don't we use other people's money, other people's time? Why those millionaires or billionaires so successful? Because they know how to use OPM or OPT, other people's money or other people's time. Last but not least, discipline. That's about to create that compound effect we always want. We don't want to sporadically jumping from one thing and do another thing and then jumping back. We want that consistent, steady growth of our wealth. It's not only about wealth. I will mention a lot about overall quality of our lives. We will have friends, boss, co-workers, our family, our loved ones, our money with the relationship with our money, as well as the legacy. It's the holistic picture. Start thinking and analyzing. What do you have? Where do you want to be? What are you doing daily, yearly? Are you tracking? If you want to get here, the gap, what can you do to fulfill the gap? And then how can you get there in that disciplined way to make it bite-sized steps? Nobody can change from A to Z overnight. But if you have a plan, if you're doing it step by step, I'm sure eventually you're gonna get there. So I want to use this. I used to have this Wheels on Wheels as a train, but now I want that image as a bank on wheels. The engine is the quality concept. Not because it's my background. I was a QC chemist, quality control chemist. I was doing analytical chemistry the first 8 years in the US. I think everything is about quality. Quality is a very broad concept. All the product we buy, it has to go through a rigorous quality control process, quality assurance. That's why you see all the specifications and all this 9 yard about this particular product, what you're buying, all the specification, how it will meet all the standard for that particular product. The same as our life, our financial life, our relationship, our spiritual life. Everything is about quality. I really want to emphasize the importance to use quality as the engine to propel this bank, your own bank, to that tax exempt $1 million status. So the first bank is your SD bank. SD stands for self direct. So there are several accounts IRS will allow you to self direct to make alternative investments. I prefer the Roth account, meaning you're putting the taxed money, it's already taxed, into this Roth accounts. It could be several Roth account we'll mention, but all the growth from your principal will be tax deferred and tax free under certain criteria. For example, the penalty I mentioned, 59 and a half. If you withdraw from your Roth account, the gain portion, it is subject to 10% of penalty. In the meantime, we want that growth. We want to shift our money into whatever available for the tax defer slash tax free, not slash plus some money a tax defer, but it's taxable when you pull that out. So we want to shift our money into the tax favored and tax free buckets. So the money can grow tax free. And then when you do the distribution, sooner or later, you want to use the money, not keep accumulating it, not use it at all for your own life. So when we do the distribution, the money is tax free. And because it's a self direct Roth IRA account or Roth 401k, solo 401k, you could also do self-direct Roth simple IRA, self-directed Roth SEP IRA, and FSA and HSA. You have full control of the investment you are doing. And it can be a range of different assets, such as euro stock and bond, real estate, heavy metal, crypto, it's all allowed. There are some specific prohibited transactions, which will not go into detail in this class. It will grow tax free and distribution is tax free. We want everything in the tax exempt bucket. So we can have access those accounts because we take full control. We want to minimize market risk, right? If you put into the stock market, bond market risk, we want to put it into safer environments for the money to grow tax free and then use it tax free. There's few pitfalls. I mentioned about prohibited transactions. IRS illustrated very clearly what will be prohibited transactions. Anything with disqualified person, such as yourself, family, your grandma, your kids, your siblings will be okay. But anything direct, up and down, it's disqualified person. If you use self-direct Roth IRA to buy a small house, 100K, and you want to use it for Airbnb, you put your kids into the Airbnb to enjoy that. That's disqualified. You cannot use it. Your grandma and grandpa cannot use it. Your parents cannot use it. Your kids cannot use it, but your niece, your uncle can. So there's also contribution limit. It's a little complicated, different scenario and changes every year. We'll get into details in our course because every single bucket, every single bank bucket will actually drill down and we'll talk about what can be done, what cannot be done, what pitfalls you need to pay attention, and how do you use the money? You don't want to just shuffle the money. You want your money grow in your bank. So there's a lot of things to think. And then also the risk control, right? How do you use the money when you have the cash flow? Put it right back into your self-directed Roth account. You cannot do anything else. Just go straight, get the rent money, put directly into your self-directed Roth IRA. whatever account you use. And there's some heavy compliance issue everybody should be aware of. Remember, anything with tax exempt, tax free, tax saver accounts, there's regulation and compliance. IRS will not make it very easy on you. So that's something to think about. So back to the previous slide, there's something called UBIT, unrelated business income tax. UBIT, why we have this UBIT? It's because whenever you leverage, meaning you borrow, the house is 100K, you have 50,000 there, you borrow 50,000 from a bank as a non-recourse loan. IRS thinks whatever the cash flow, just say you generated 10,000 net this year, IRS will treat this as half leverage. Whatever leverage portion, it will be subject to tax called UBIT, unrelated business income tax, because that's a business generated. You have to pay the UBIT tax. The UBIT tax is going through the trust tax brackets. I don't know how many people will know about the trust bracket. It's very steep. After 15 or 13,000, very small amount. After that, anything over that, 37%, unfortunately. But that should not be a obstacle to not use the leverage. We'll go into that. There's a way to not completely eliminate, but there's something called UBIT blocker. You could set up a corporation to minimize and get it down a little bit. So we'll talk about specific tax consequences of the UBIT. One of the favorite account for me is self-directed Roth solo 401k. There's a lot of nuances, how much you can contribute, if you're eligible, what can you do? But one biggest advantage for self-directed Roth solo 401k is the UBIT does not apply. So you can still do the leverage if you leverage 50%. 10K is the net income. This 10K, because it's a Roth, 10K goes back to your self-directed Roth solo 401k account. You pay $0 tax, personal income tax. So this one illustrates a little bit because we're talking about millions, right? You want to be a millionaire, tax-free millionaire. I use some numbers. Those pair is something called catch-up contribution if you're over 50 years old. So you can contribute 7,000 Roth or traditional RA. And this is the 401k amount. This is something called mega RA. I will not go into too much detail about all different numbers, which we will illustrate and we'll just show you. Those, the professionals, tax, CPA, will not have time to really sit down and let you know all the details. It's your money and it's something you control 100%. So that's why I think I mentioned the lifetime learner. It's just so much you could learn and you should learn in your life. If we use 15%, which is very standard and it's not that difficult to me, but definitely it's not putting your money into a saving account or CD or a bond account. So 15% year after year, 13 years, if you're contributing 23,000 into this self-directed Roth account, it's not that bad because we are contributing this anyway, most people. And that's a big mistake I made. People were telling me the first about 7, probably 8 years, my household, my husband and I think, right? Double income, no kids. So people were saying, oh, just take at that time, I think when I started, this is 35 and it bumped up little by little. People just say, oh, take that couple thousand, just do the traditional IRA. You can deduct from your tax. When we first started working here, our tax was high, but it's just later on, I have to do the roll over, which I have to pay the tax, but that's another story. So what I want you to remember is your friend. And then we have another friend, which is called IBC, the high cash value life insurance. But we will talk about the second bank we're going to build together. It's high cash value life insurance. People call it IBC, which stands for infinite banking concept. Just be your own bank. Nathan Nelsh is the founder of this concept. He has a thin book, about 70, 80 pages. I highly recommend you get the book. There's a newer version. We utilize a IRC code 7702 to build up another bucket of our own bank. Taxed money put in is tax deferred. The payout will be tax free. We're talking about personal income tax. It was subject to inheritance tax and what's the other one? The inherit tax and the other one. So when you die, when your kids inherit those tax, those money, the IBC, the money in your new bank, the IBC bank, because the money, although it's tax deferred and eventually tax free, if you withdraw from your cash value, think remember there's the umbrella. People show that most of the time when you see anything related to life insurance, you see the big umbrella, which is raining and stormy. But if you withdraw your money from your cash value after your contribution, that portion is subject to personal income tax that year. We still want to utilize this tool or this method. Why? Because if we do that as a loan, so basically, this is your policy, right? It's a permanent life insurance. And you can go talk to whoever the carrier is, just say Guardian. You can just say, hey, Guardian, I have 50,000 in my cash value. I want to borrow 40,000 out as a loan using your policy as collateral. Because it's a loan, there's interest, but then your money is still earning its own interest or dividend. It's a little complicated, especially in the very beginning. People don't understand, especially Dave Ramsey. He smashes IBC or whole life. But I really want to encourage everyone to drill down and think about it. I started learning about life insurance and IBC concept. I feel like it's too good to be true. Why people would do that? Why the company will? I gave the carrier, the insurance company money, and I take it out, and then the money is still growing. Why would someone do that? Why do I just leave it somewhere and then I can just invest? Why I do whole 9 yard and get my money out? I started paying tax. It does not make sense. I encourage you to figure it out yourself. So, not going too much detail, I mentioned several of the key points already. Tax free growth. When you withdraw, there's taxable events after the base. It's tax free access as a loan, tax free death benefits. One good thing about life insurance, you can stack up if your total asset is under a million, you want to buy $100 million death benefit. The carrier may not be able to qualify you and prove you for that policy. But there's no the 7,000, 23,000, or whatever that 65,000. There's no those limit from the IRS each year. That's a limit each year. If you contribute, if you don't, you lose that opportunity. There's no way you can contribute to 2023 contribution. Now we talk about two different banks, self-directed Roth account, different Roth accounts I mentioned. The IBC policy, high cash value life insurance as a bank, your money is there. We want your money to work for us. The best way to make money is using the money you have. And the best way is to strategically design that so everything is working inside of those account banks, your own banks. So you get the tax benefit. You can still do a lot of alternative investment in the tax exempt or tax free environment. That's best of the best. You can do, I'm a real estate investor. You can do real estate. You enjoy the cash flow from the rent income. There's also paper trading, like performing note. There's so many varieties of investing. Another possibility, if comfortable, is to invest in businesses, not super early stage, but mid stage companies, either misrun or they are on the right track. You buy them and just more flip house. Right now, you're flipping the business. If you know how to run that, wrap up and sell it, you can make a lot of money. Based on my experience and what I heard, it probably will be even higher return compared to you buy a house using your own money or have money loan and then get the construction loan and just flip the house, put it on the market and try to get back whatever the spread eventually you can get. And don't forget all the tax advantages we're talking. Okay. So basically, we need the money inside of those banks to work for us to earn 10, 20, 30, 50% for us year after tax free. So that's the beauty. The compound is the eighth wonder of the world. Everybody knows. But the issue is we have to stay consistent. That's the most difficult thing to do. Sometimes you buy a house, flip it, and in 6 months, 8 months, you buy another one. So we really want to have some consistent flow, how the money can work for us on a consistent basis, utilizing the consistency we bring to the table. This is the last key point I want to mention. OPM, other people's money. The other people's money accelerator, which there's a lot of banks. They want you to use their money because they don't want their money sitting, they don't want their money to sit on their balance sheet. If the money is out, sometimes for an incentive, they give you 0% APR. There was 0% APR for some period of time, sometimes 6 months, 8 months, up to 18 months. After that, they start charging you. And they know probably 100 of those kind of credit card with the promotion. A high percentage, people are going to start paying some money later on when the 0% APR. So using other people's money, using the leverage can jumpstart and supercharge wealth accumulation. We have the source to help you boost up your credit score and then get to those 0% APR money. We want to achieve the tax exempt $1 million. I used 5,000 per month because I really want to talk to people who have already built up the monthly recurring revenue, at least 10,000. So you will save some for future business growth, for personal expense. But then you allocate the half of it, 5,000, and make sure you can do it year on a consistent basis. We don't want to wait 20, 30 years to be a millionaire. We want to get to that point as fast as possible. I'm using 5,000 per month, which is really almost $164 a day. Using the system I was talking about, the two banks, pull the money out and invest in different assets. If we can do 25% year after year for illustration purpose, 7 to 8 years, different model give me a little difference, either 7 or 8 years. That's your first $1 million tax exempt assets. So that's where we want to be. We really want to have the system, have the discipline in place. Remember the B.O.L.D I was talking about, bank ownership, leverage, as well as the discipline. make everything work together in a harmonized way, I cannot see why you will not accumulate the tax exempt $1 million in 7, 8, or 10 years. I want to show a quick example. I put an asterisk here. This per month, 1150. We're still putting the people in, still interviewing to fill this small house, 50,000, trying to get around 44,000 down payment and collect 1150 per month for 30 years. We will eliminate all repairs along the way if we find the tenant buyer there. This business model aligns with the two banks I was talking about, and it gives you consistent cash flow without the headache dealing with toilet paper, fixing the leaks, and all the 9 yard about being a landlord, which I'm experiencing. And if I use money from the self-directed Roth IRA, I can achieve roughly 35% cash on cash. If I use 1150 and I have to put all the money back to the self-directed IRA account, about 3 years, all my principal will go back to the self-directed IRA account. And all the money after 3 years, it will be infinite return. Imagine if you can have 10, 20, 50, 100 of this, and the cash flow it brings, you can use the money to buy additional slow flips. It's like the snowball effect. I'm sure you get what I try to. I'm breaking it up. I don't want to make it so complicated, but it's using the 60,000 we're talking about. We will do bank one and bank two because the second bank, it's a life insurance policy. Everybody is different. There's health rating, there's different male, female, and different carriers. So the number varies a little. But I just want to give you the visual. What will happen if you can do that on consistent basis? And if you can achieve that 30%, 30 plus percent compound effect in those 10, 20, 30 years. Remember, once you reach the first million, the second million will be easier. And the next 10 million will be much easier. The first one, you have to really, this is an exponential curve, right? The growth. You have to tolerate the small growth. Eventually, it will jump up and the speed will pick up quickly. To recap, build your own bank, B.O.L.D, bank, ownership, leverage, and discipline. That's the system I really want to show everybody what you could do to actually supercharge and start your wealth accumulation in a tax exempt way. We're still paying some of the tax. For example, if the rent is not in a self-directed Roth account, if it's a regular account, the rent money, you still need to pay tax. The IBC policy, if you take the money to buy a house, you still need to pay. We're doing that legally and morally. But because of the shelf of the tax favored account, we're using both as the banks and our own bank. I believe that's one of the fastest way we could accumulate tax exempt wealth in our lifetime. Remember, consistency is the key, and being the disciplined person to really follow the system and make it happen year after year, I'm very sure eventually you'll get what you want to be, the tax exempt millionaire status. I put my contact information there, and there's my YouTube channel. I have a school community called Tax Exempt Millionaire Club. It's free, and I plan to keep it free to really show people what I have learned, discovered, experienced, and summarized into this personal wealth accumulation area. book a call with me and let me know where are you and where you want to be and see if I could help you supercharge the process to give you some hints or give you some idea what you could do. The slow flip I was showing to you, the two different things and the discipline to just do it year after year, all of those combined together will definitely give you the blueprint to make sure you can get to that tax exempt millionaire status as early as possible, as fast as possible. Remember, life is not only about making money. Learn the system, master the skill, and transfer it to your loved ones, your kids. Leave them a legacy. Don't just give them the fish, show them how they could go fishing and make that their life skill. They will really thank you for what you are teaching them. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I will do some Q&A. In the meantime, try to find me and book a call. We'll see how the system can help you and how I could help you as well along the way. I wish you the best and encourage you to start accumulating tax exempt wealth today. Bye.